both surprised by the way we looked. The years had changed us too. We smiled and both embraced like old friends often do. As childhood.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Gung Ho. You know this mug, been doing this a long time. Marine, defense attorney, Vietnam. I got a special guest today. His name is Noel Rivera, artist, prisoner, contractor,
Christian.
Anyhow, this is our second episode today. We're going to take on something very serious, corruption. And we have someone here that knows firsthand. So, all right, tell me where you first came across some serious or corruption in the correction system.
The minute I walked in the door,
How's that?
the minute you walked in the door, you're sized up by the administration. The first level administration, which is the COs that are directly in communication with you. And they feed themselves through all types of, they're corrupted at all types of levels. Some of them want to feed their ego. Some of them want to feed their pocket. Some of them want to feed their seductive lust. Depends what's on the menu.
Are you talking about white officers, white male
I'm
officers?
talking about every color. I'm talking about, but it's usually, it's whoever's in control because they have their gangs in there. And you have a lot of officers don't want to be involved in it, but the ones that clang up become a power. For instance, if, a lot of guys want to start getting them off their back, and these are guys that get money, they'll come up to a sergeant and say, "Sergeant, I need to speak to you. I have a problem. My problem is that, I want to adhere to all the rules in the institution. I don't want to create any disturbance, and I want to comply with all institutional rules so I can go home and live comfortable. But I keep finding these $100 bills. So I want to turn it in, and I found this $100 bill." So the sergeant would usually take it and not want to turn it in. But you tell him, "Sergeant, I got another problem. And the problem is I always find these. Do I give them to you or somebody else?" So if the sergeant says, "No, you report these only to me," that means that he wants you to give him the $100 bills whenever you get them.
So then he's going to look out for you.
And he might not look out for you. He might act like he's looking out and just throw you under the bus. As a matter of fact, it can go both ways because he could start sending wolves at you to make it look like he's protecting you from a scenario that he's creating.
Crazy. How do you maintain your integrity, your safety when you go into a prison?
I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people might not hear. But God protected me. I went to church, I read the Bible, and I took it out of my hands. The Lord did see me through that nightmare. Because I was places where I was with Arthur Shawcroft that was eating people. Son of Sam, which is a good person today. That guy, he doesn't disobey anything. He's living a spiritual life. Ronald DeFeo, the Amityville Horror. And I was with these monsters, and I went through this maze of madness, and God was able to see me through the whole thing. Some people don't want to hear that. That's their problem. But God brung me through that madness.
But I would think that some prisoners would abuse the other prisoners.
There's a lot of abuse, but before the abuse comes in, because it's predacious. It's a predacious environment. There's predators. But a predator always size up the game before it goes in. You see? And usually when a guy comes up to me, wants to feel me out, "What's up? How you doing? Yeah, what's up?" He can see that I've been in this thing. I mean, you want to talk about being a guy. I was a gangster. So you're not going to come to me with just anything. No. What? Okay, what do? You kill people? I used to do that too. Look at my record. Well, you can size me up? What do you? Well, I'm on the menu? You want to eat shark meat?
This is serious stuff. I mean, I would assume that there were prisoners that can't protect themselves.
They join gangs, they join religions, you join the Muslims. Usually when a guy's got a crime of rape or child murder or child rape and other guys come, they want to prey on him for that. The Muslims say, you know, you can't touch him. I understand what he's here for. We don't like it, but he's a Muslim now, so, you know, he's hands off. So a lot of people become Muslim not because they believe in the Quran or the rulings of Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him. I am not disrespecting Muslims because I love too many Muslims and I don't come against their religion as a Christian, but they get protection there.
Suppose you don't have that protection.
Then you don't have protection.
No. I mean, suppose.
Then you join a gang. But the problem with a gang is that if you're weak, then they'll eat you. Those wolves will eat you.
Is there any sexual abuse?
You know what? That rape thing in prison, I've seen guys that came in that were very handsome, and you know they had a knuckle game and they had a lot of heart. So they're men. You're not gonna, like I told you, a predator sizes his prey because it might be too big for his mouth to eat. You see what I'm saying? A cub lion won't go after an elephant.
I heard this term, you're going to be my wife.
Yeah, that's all over. They always said that. If a guy came in and said, like one time they had these kids scare straight. You know about scare straight. So I told this kid that came in, I was trying to scare him. I told him, if you was in here, you'd be mine. Little white kid, you know what he told me? If I was in there, you'd be mine, old man. You little son of a, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't scared, and that's how it is. It's how much fear they can generate, because if they can scare you, they can possess you, because they say, to whom you are subject, him you will serve.
What about drugs?
Oh, there's drugs. Drugs are all over prison.
How do the drugs get into a prison?
COs bring them in, guys bring them in, they stuff them in their anal, and their wives bring them in to visit. Drugs were always there. Drugs.
You're talking, hard stuff like heroin?
Yeah, heroin. Anybody in there wants nothing light. If she's going to take a chance and bring something, you want something you can market for the highest price so you can get away from this madness for a few hours.
Were you ever involved in the drug trade?
I didn't get involved in the drugs in prison because when I came into prison and I got arrested, I knew that I was through with the game. When I got arrested, the newscast came when they were taking me outside of the police station, and the newscast asked me, they said, Ace, what do you have to say? And my words were, I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad the madness of the crime wave, because I was part of the Rocha gang, which was the kingpin of the Hudson Valley. And we were making a lot of money, and it wasn't drugs that we were selling. A lot of it was cut. We take a kilo, we make 2 out of it. We were making, out of 5 kilos, we could make $1 million.
You're talking heroin or
cocaine? 5 kilos, we were making $1 million because we would put a 1 on it. That's 10,000 grams with a 1. 10,000 grams at $100 a gram. You do the math.
But you said your murder was drug related.
It was drug related, yes.
So tell us what happened.
We were having a meeting. Somebody interrupted the meeting, and we killed him.
Was that guy there to rob you people? Or?
No, he just interrupted the meeting.
That's all he did?
Yeah, but there was a lot of tension in the air before he did it, so.
Was he part of your
No, he was not.
I had a friend, and I knew him before he became a drug kingpin. Maybe you know him, Nelson Rodriguez.
I know him. No, I never met him. Never.
he got involved in the heroin trade after we knew one another as friends, and he wound up got crazed, I think, and he was using professional boxers as hitmen, and I got into that, you know, and he was a good friend of mine. In fact, he rented from my mom the ground floor apartment for a while, but then when this happened, it changed my whole. I got to hate him. He, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to say something to you. I've met a lot of criminals, men that had the criminal mentality that I still love because they're men.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people out here that never committed a crime, and they're cowards with no backbone, backstabbing, and they will commit atrocities, but they don't have the heart to execute it. So they harbor that hate inside all their time, and they take it out on their kids, their wife, or some defenseless human being because they're cowards, you know? But I met men that are criminal and are humble. You know, they're humble. Do you know how, one second, do you know how in Silence of the Lamb, how he used to pick his victims? Because he went after people that were rude. He went after people that were rude. I'll never forget that. A real dangerous person is very humble.
I'll give you a quick story. One of the killers in this gang, they were selling heroin. I know for sure they were doing like $9 million a week.
That's a lot of money. I wish I knew where they kept it.
But one of the killers was a professional fighter by the name of Pedro Estrada, and he was able to get away at first. You know, when they rounded some of the guys up, he got away. He was gone for a while. He finally was caught in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I knew this. You know, I knew him. He's been to my home. I knew this guy.
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
So I get a phone call one day at home, and he says, "You Mr. Giannini?" Someone says, "Yes." The attorney? "Yes." "I'm an FBI agent. I just arrested Pedro Estrada. He's such a gentleman that we made this call for him. We're going to put him on the line."
Yeah. He was a gentleman.
And he was a stone cold killer. But you know
gentleman.
something? I really liked that guy. I mean, you know.
You liked his silk. You liked his Giannini, huh? He must have been smooth. I met some smooth gangsters. I got to say, I met some smooth gangsters. Smooth as silk. And then I met a lot of lames that were rough and act tough. Bunch of lames that were rough and act tough. But I met some gangsters, murderers, real men that were very humble. They had class.
Right. Well, Pedro, when he went one of the murder trials, he machine gunned some people. He had a machine gun. What kind of machine gun? So he says to me,
maybe he had a surplus M16.
I don't know if it wasn't an M16. They had these little. Anyhow, he says to me, "You know, Joe, they tried to kidnap me, and a cop car came down the street while they were trying to put me in a car, and I got away. So I went back, and I killed him."
But, I mean, if you're going to kill somebody, a person that's trying to put you in the car would be the person to kill.
Yeah, and he says, and they arrested him for it because there were witnesses. He says to me, "Joe, just do your best."
How much can I do? You got to pull a real rabbit out of your hat for that one. Damn, a lot of stories. All right. Where's he at now? Is he out?
No, he'll never come out.
No?
He's convicted for how many murders?
You think he could tell us where the money's at?
He was convicted for 2 murders in Brooklyn and maybe 3 murders in the Bronx. It's not coming out.
Wow.
Not going to come out. And he's a really nice person.
Yes, he is.
And he wrote to me not too long ago, and you know, it's really a beautiful letter typed out. I mean, really, I have to go see him. I mean, I really have to go see him. It, nah,
Don't forget to bring him cigarettes. Don't forget to bring him cigarettes.
oh, I don't think he would smoke.
Oh, God.
Pedro? I doubt it.
He'll use it like currency. He'll use it like currency.
Oh, you know something? He was on the most, the most wanted list for a while. The FBI.
You know, they put me on that list when they were looking for me shortly. And you know, my girl was such an airhead that she came to me and said, honey, I saw your picture in the post office. I said, did you take it down and get rid of it? She says, no, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Beautiful girl for me.
Here's another thing about Pedro. He was training at Gleason's, and I was involved in the boxing business, and he was coming up. He had won the Golden Gloves, and he was coming up, and he had a fight in the Feld Forum one night. I was there. He was fighting. He was undefeated, and he was fighting a guy by the name of Troy Darrell, and I was, ringside watching it. It was a war. They knocked one another down.
Yeah.
And then finally, this guy, Troy Darrow, had more fights than him, and he stopped Pedro. Stopped him. I got Pedro's license. I'll show you sometime. Got stopped. That was the end of his career. He couldn't. Anybody told me I wasn't right. I was sick. He's in against a really good fighter. It ended his career. That's it. Then he went and became, a killer. But I think that has something to do with. They were doing drugs too. Cocaine, whatever.
That's a no-no. When you break the law, you have to have triple senses. You have to have triple knowledge. You have to have triple wisdom to live that life, because you're constantly on the edge. You don't have the luxury to have your mind impaired.
That's what I believe.
A regular person that has a 9 to 5 can't drink and drive. A person that's committing crime could never drink. It takes 1 minute of distraction and the beast can enter.
I feel that about the way I practice law, criminal defense. You really can't fuck with your mind. You got, when you go into that courtroom, you can.
You got to be sharp as a nail.
You have to do that, and then if you're not doing that, it's disrespectful to yourself and your client, everybody. I would never do that. I was
Yeah, you got to be sharp, man, when you're in the game.
Serious game. We mentioned the 70s. I know firsthand. I started practicing criminal defense in 1973, and the corruption.
So you're familiar with the Roger Phillip, the Nat Commission? The corruption involved in the Nat Commission? Remember the Nat Commission?
I remember the Nat Commission. I knew of other corruption that was going on. I don't think the Nat, did they touch on cops dealing?
Yeah, Roger Phillip, he killed the pimp that he was extorting. Those cops were out of control. They were upstate with us.
Were there a drug ring involved?
They everything.
Yeah, because that's what was going on. They would, my client.
I knew it was Roger Phillip. He became a good paralegal. He had a good pen game and I also met, you ever heard of Jerry the Jew?
My clients would tell me, these cops are selling drugs.
Well, they had people selling drugs for them. They didn't sell the drugs themselves.
I don't know about that.
And they would give the dealers protection.
They were ripping off dealers, giving certain dealers protection. They were heavily involved. And sure enough, like I think in the mid-'70s, it was the 74, the 75th precinct. I mean, they rounded up a whole lot of guys. And then there was before that, the Prince of the City. It was these guys, these detectives that had jurisdiction over all of New York City, and they were drug dealers.
Triborough, yeah. They were powerful Triborough police officers. They were horrible. Well, a few times, like if they would if they would pull the car over and they wanted to be merciful, they'll just take everything you got and want to arrest you. Because they know that next time they catch you, you'll have more. And if they can always come to you and take everything you got, and you're going to play by the rules and not get wired up to arrest them, you're a cow. They'll milk you all the time. And I'd rather be milked than arrested. Because in between the milking, I can drink milk. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I'm good with the milking. You could, if you're a cop and I'm in the game, you could take everything I got and don't arrest me. I mean, I took it from the people, didn't I? I'm a predator.
Did you ever pay off any cops?
We had cops that were on the take, but we didn't need them that much. You know when I used the cop? Like when a guy owed money, I would have the cop arrest him, put him in the back seat. I'd go in the car and I'd show him an ounce. I'd say, right now I could put this ounce in your pocket and have you arrested. You can't get away from me. You're going to pay me my money. And if you try to, we'll set you up for drugs or I'll come after you. But you're going to pay me our money. You know, those were guys that were running spots for us, you know, to shake them up and put them in discipline online.
You paid the cop to ride shotgun.
Yeah, but then the cop would, you know, but we had a lot of cops that didn't want money. They wanted stacks of VCRs. Remember the VCRs? That's what they wanted, VCR, plane tickets, first class to Puerto Rico. A lot of them didn't take money. They took other things.
I had a cop say to me one time, I'm just looking, you know, for the incident or a time when I open a trunk and there's like $500,000. I'm just going to take it.
Yeah, they're going to take it.
I'm just going to take it.
If I was a cop, I would have took it. If I was a cop and I open up a trunk, not art. You know, I don't want my pastor to say, are you saying you'll take, no, pastor, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, back then, $500,000. Forget the 500,000, 50,000 in the trunk of a car. Do you think I'm going to leave it? You know better than that. 10 in the glove compartment, 10,000 in a glove compartment. I'm going to leave it?
It happened so often. Crazy.
Well, let's be real, man.
I took down one detective from Flatbush, 83rd Precinct.
83rd?
83rd.
It was my old neighborhood. You took down one of our boys, huh? What's his name?
John Medina. He was a detective. He was a legend. He did something crazy, and he murdered a guy. I mean, he murdered a guy. He arrested a guy for murder of a drug dealer. The guy did it. He did kill this drug dealer. But Medina didn't have the evidence. He just had word that, you know. So he decided to frame the guy, right? He framed the guy that really did the killing. He framed him. And the guy happened to be a brother of one of my fighters that I was managing. Miguel Blackie Hernandez. It was Fernando Hernandez. He says, Miguel, you know, will you represent my brother? Sure, I represent him. Oh my God. I get the discovery, and I look at the witnesses' statements, and I've never seen anything like it. They're like so, they're so
rehearsed.
So impeccable. I said, wow, you're dead. You know, if this is, they got two witnesses, and this is what they saw and what they said, you know, you're dead. He says, well, then work me out a plea. So I did. I worked him out a plea to, it was a manslaughter, 8 to, whatever, 8 1/3 to.
8 1/3 to 25.
Yeah. And in court, I go down and talk to him, and go back up, and he's ready to take the plea, Judge. DA says, we're taking it back. And the judge said, what? You made a deal here. We're taking it back. It's off the table. We have to go to trial. So now we have to do a hearing, a Wade hearing to determine the admissibility of the lineup and some other stuff. And we start doing the hearing. And they put this kid on the stand. What they don't realize is that I spoke to this kid and his brother. right? They put him on a stand and they ask him, did you look at a lineup? Yes. What number did you pick out? He said, number 5. This is DA. Why did you pick out number 5? He said, well, Detective Medina told me to pick number 5. On the record, that was the end of his career.
Wow.
End of his career. When we had to go to trial, I went out, with a private investigator to find the witnesses. I found them, and they were twins, I think, and they were with their mother. And I started to speak to them, and I realized that, whoa, there's something special about these kids. I mean, they can't talk right. I said, then, and I asked the mom, what's going on? I don't want to use the word. I call them special. They couldn't speak, they couldn't write. So I said, where'd this statement come from? He said, Medina wrote that.
Come on, man.
That's what and then that was, Medina had to resign in disgrace. And he was involved in the drug trade. People kept telling me, Joe, he's involved in the drug trade. And then I found out for sure, not too long ago, he was involved in the drug trade because I had a murder case, and I won the case. And the guy's wife, after they separated, came to see me on something else. And I said, was Modesto involved in that murder? She said, no. But that's her husband.
Yeah.
He was a drug dealer. He worked for, Detective Medina.
So let me ask you something. Do you think he was wrong for setting the guy up?
On the murder?
Yeah. If the guy killed somebody and he's getting away, and you're going to be unethical about
I don't know. The detective had something to do with it. I don't know.
But if the guy's guilty and the guy's killing people, and you gotta wave, do a little get him. He's guilty anyway.
We're done. Well, they could look. They could have done it another way, right?
A little better.
Yeah.
Less sloppy.
They did it.
He got 2 kids that couldn't talk. How intelligent was he?
We're done. Yeah. I mean, you can't do that. How stupid can you be? You got a kid that can't speak and can't talk, and you write this statement for him. It's like, what do you think? They think the guy's
That's like saying you got kicked with a guy with no
they
legs.
think the guy's going to take a plea, and he'll never, there'll never be a hearing or a trial.
And that's it. The case was dismissed.
So,
did you get the case dismissed? Was it dismissed?
The judge brought him up. He's incarcerated. Bring him up.
I should have had you as my lawyer.
The judge was like top judge, former head of the homicide bureau, says to the guy, I know you did this.
Oh.